talked a little bit about some people in the past. So where does the Muslim world stand in science now? Can you name some important contemporary scientists who are making a difference?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I would, we're living in very interesting times actually. That we have thinkers within our circles who are sort of replicating, they're resurrecting the spirit of the golden age of the Islamic intellectual revolution. So, just to remind you, this particular attitude towards learning that existed in the Islamic golden age, what was that? That attitude was basically all about how religion and science are not really, at odds with each other, and that the primary reason for that is because of the unity of knowledge. The unity of knowledge means that the physical world and the Quran actually come from the same source. So essentially, there should be an inherent unity between these two. The author of the Quran, the one who sent down the Quran, is the one who created the universe. So what that means is a study of the universe, a deep, true analysis of the universe should lead me closer to my creator, just the way a study of the Quran leads us close to our creator. So this was like a very dominant view of the Islamic intellectual revolution, the Islamic scientific revolution. All throughout, you find it throughout, all across the board, all scientists had this perception. And obviously, I mean, it's obvious because it was a religious culture, it was the actual intellectual milieu in which these people functioned in, that was Islam. So you would really, expect that. But now we're not in that phase. Now things have been secularized, education has been secularized, science has been overly secularized. So, but you still find scholars who are sort of, getting that spirit back, reviving that spirit, alhamdulillah. And so I want to talk about two of my favorite. There are many, obviously, maybe, it requires a lot of time to go through all of those amazing research that is happening in the Muslim world by Muslims. But I want to talk about these two because in their works you can see the same old, the same brilliant reconciliation between religion and science, and their rigorous scientific research. They're actually talking about the main issues about regarding their particular fields, but then they're using Muslim achievements from the past, the Islamic worldview and the Islamic theories on nature, on causality. Causality means the cause and effect. So basically, how did early Muslims view these issues? So they're digging out these theories and they're actually showing how they're still applicable. And what that does is that gives you a sense of, what, we're not really, I mean, it's not to call Islam pre-modern or even to think that it belongs to the ancient world is so far from the truth. Because all of the things that still are considered important for science, for philosophy, for this domain of religion and science were discussed in the Islamic world and they're still applicable. They're still relevant. So I want to talk about somebody who I take as a great inspiration. This is a book by Dr. Mohamed Haj Yousef. So what this book is all about, he actually wrote like 3 volumes on this. He's a physicist. So Dr. Mohamed Haj Yousef is a physicist from the UAE, and he works in the field of quantum physics. But what he's done is that he's an expert also on Ibn Arabi, Shaykh al Akbar Ibn Arabi, who is a great mystic, a great scholar from Spain, Muslim Spain, and he takes his theories about, now Shaykh al Akbar Ibn Arabi wrote extensively about Islamic cosmology and about time. And he wrote about basically the nature of the universe, but in his own style. So Ibn Arabi was not a scientist, he was a mystic, but he was deriving his knowledge through a different route. Now, a scientist derives knowledge through the route of the physical world. So you conduct experiments, you use logical reasoning, you use mathematics, and that's how you derive your conclusions. Whereas what mystics do, and this is well recognized within the Islamic intellectual arena, is that mystical knowledge is far ahead of time. So what you would have with physical means, a mystic would have like 1,000 years ahead of you. But where do they get that knowledge from? That is directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is al-Haq, who is the truth. So if you want to know the true nature of, let's say, light, you want to know the true nature of the universe. What is the universe created out of? Is the universe made out of tiny fundamental blocks of matter, of spirit, of whatever it is? Or is it just homogeneous? Is it just, the same everywhere? It doesn't really break down into discrete stuff. So these are like big questions that people ask in science, in philosophy, throughout history. And then you have an answer from the scientists, and you have also an answer from the mystics. So Shaykh al Akbar Ibn Arabi had a very, very interesting theory on time. How time is, really like you have atoms of matter, you have atoms of stuff, you also have atoms of time. And then he talked about how time is cyclic, it goes around in circles. It's very complex, concept. And then he had his concepts about cosmology. One of the most important, one of the most fascinating ideas that he developed, and it was developed prior to him by theologians, is that the universe around, including yourself, everything, comes into existence in a moment, and the next moment it's gone. And then it comes into existence in a moment, and then it's gone. And basically what we are, what existence is just successive, coming into existence, going out of existence. Because it cannot stay without the command of Allah. So this is called continuous recreation, this theory. Now, Ibn Arabi developed that. He brought, different things out of this same concept, and that's his field. He's famous for that. So I want to talk about Dr. Mohamed Haj Yousef, the one who's written this book, brilliant book, and like two more like this one showing you, where he talks about Ibn Arabi's theory of time. And what he does, which is so interesting, it's so amazing that actually we are living in a time where we could actually do that, is he takes these ideas, he converts them into mathematical formulae, and then he uses them in quantum physics. Now, for those of you who don't know, we have one of the biggest conundrums and paradoxes today in the world, which is, how do you reconcile quantum physics, which is the theory of the tiny stuff, with general relativity, which is the theory of the very large stuff, planets and galaxies and the universe. So they aren't reconciled, and this is like driving scientists almost like crazy. It's everywhere in the world you have like so many papers being written about the issues, about the possibilities of how to reconcile it, is it even reconcilable, or all of that. But alhamdulillah, it's very interesting that I find that Dr. Mohamed Haj Yousef actually takes all of those paradoxes, they call the unsolved mysteries of physics, and then he uses these formulae that he's derived from Ibn Arabi's cosmology and his conception of time being atomic, being quantized, and all of that converted into mathematics, and he actually produces solutions to those problems. He actually proves pretty, it's just amazingly how he proves that much of these problems and these paradoxes, like for example, for the audience who would be aware, there's this very important, it's a very amazing paradox, it's called the EPR paradox. And Einstein, Podolsky, Rosen paradox. What that is all about is basically, we know in today's world, that in today's science, that an action cannot, any action in the universe cannot function faster than the speed of light. The speed of light is the ultimate. You cannot go above the speed of light. That's the ultimate speed limit in the universe. But then the paradox, this EPR paradox, actually shows that for quantum physics to be accepted as, a theory, a workable theory, and by the way, quantum physics is what makes your phone run, what makes our computers, the chips in our computers run, what makes the internet work. And almost it's argued that 1/3 or even more of the economy runs on quantum physics. So it's like a very successful theory, but then it has all of these issues, all of these paradoxes, and one of which is the EPR paradox. But then Dr. Mohamed Haj Yousef's work shows that if you take the idea of quantized time meaning time is made up of really tiny atoms, not the second, really smaller than the second, you would be able to resolve this paradox. Or he says in another book, he says, if you could basically this idea of the continuous recreation that we just discussed, how the Muslim theologians developed this theory, and then Shaykh al Akbar ibn Arabi actually developed it even further. He contextualized it, he really worked on it. If you could take that theory, that worldview, how the universe is being continuously recreated, and you sort of obviously give it a mathematical figure, you would be able to resolve this along with other paradoxes. So I think that is almost like groundbreaking, trailblazing work being done by Muslim scientists, not only reconciling religion with science, but also making it relevant. Like for most of us, we don't really understand much of mystical texts from the Islamic world. But then when you have something like this, you're like, oh my goodness, like somebody who was like 800 years back is saying things that we know now. Like for example, in the book he discusses how Ibn Arabi, Shaykh al Akbar, he actually, much of his insights about the universe have been confirmed now. Now, obviously, those are mystical insights, so he uses mystical language. Like he says, for example, during his time, what was orthodoxy, scientific orthodoxy, was that the stars are fixed. They don't move. They're just there, like light bulbs in the sky. Shaykh al Akbar ibn Arabi doesn't, he doesn't agree with that. And he goes against the scientific orthodoxy of his time. Then other things, he actually talks about the speed of light in his works, and many other things that you're just amazed. So this is one work that I highly recommend for people who really want to understand the pioneering research that is being done in the Muslim world, which is not only reconciling religion and science, but actually producing great solutions to problems that we still consider unsolved. And another one